medication that helps alleviate a lot of my symptoms. And I just don't want that to be taken away. Only going after caregivers, but it's also going after the Genesee Compassion Club and Vehicle City Social Club. So this ordinance is actually aiming to
Oh no.
shut both of those businesses down and then also restrict the caregivers. Both of those places have been staples of Genesee Township and pillars
For
of the
years.
community for like a decade.
Yeah, for
And
years.
they have paid hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes. They bring in tourism, they bring in patients, they bring in shoppers. They are pillars of this community. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this ordinance is written that actually directly affects them and would make it so their businesses would no longer be able to operate if this ordinance passed without any changes. So we are calling everybody in the
Right.
cannabis community to come out Tuesday. Come out like at 4 p.m. to the Genesee County Township office. They're meeting at Genesee County Compassion Club around 3:30, and then heading down to the township office for a protest and to speak during public comment. Everyone's encouraged to stay respectful. Um, Utilize three
Please,
minutes to
please,
talk to the
please.
board. Do not go up there and swear at them or
Yeah.
yell at them. They will not hear you. And it's possible you could be taken out by the sergeant
Hmm.
at arms if you show out. So just stay, accurate, stay brief, and stay courteous. So like your ABCs: be accurate, be brief, be courteous.
I thought it was always burnt cannabis, but yeah, that'll work too. That'll work too. Listen, I've never really come at things with a lot of. Okay, no, I lied. My entire past is me just coming at things with too much, just reaction, just too much, usually
Yeah.
alcohol, but I don't drink anymore, so we're groovy. But, you know, that's a lot, to kind of like, to kind of deal with on a daily basis, in addition to already kind of just starting your day. And like after you check social media, you go to business, you get it done. You hit the ground. You're like, no, no, we need boots on the ground. And that's the truth, y'all. We've got amazing people out here doing this. The Genesee, Compassion Club. We've got Vehicle City being attacked as well. Not to mention Genesee, Armada, and Forest Townships, y'all, right here in the backyard in Lansing. I mean, come on. It's on all fronts at this point, and in a lot of people are like, "Oh, we're surrounded." You still gonna give up though? No, we ain't out of bullets yet. Here's the thing: everybody that's behind this knows damn well that they're being misinformed. Period. But at the same time, it's because of a certain shade of other type of green that they give a shit. And that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Follow the
Yeah.
money. It's
Exactly. I mean, we all
unfortunate.
saw the municipal ladies, the municipal league. They were at the hearing on the House bills, and they were on the side of the MCMA. They were
Hmm.
advocating for the House Bill 5300 through 5302, and it all makes sense now. All clicks. They
Hmm.
are being lobbied by the MCMA. Therefore, they're turning around and going back to their municipality and telling all the municipal members, hey, you can create this ordinance. Hey, get this ordinance on the books. Hey, we really think you should do this. And they're
Hmm.
pushing it because the MCMA is paying them to do this.
Hmm.
That's what I believe. I fully believe it. Nothing could change my mind at this point that that's not happening.
I do think that there's some kind of, someone walking in the front door and money walking out the back. I will say that. How? We don't know. It's not our job to know. It's our job to stop it. Listen, I'm going to be honest with you. We gotta absolutely stand behind Genesee County. We gotta stand behind Vehicle City. We gotta stand behind, the caregivers here. We have to fight for them because a lot of them cannot fight for themselves. This is a very tortoise and hare situation. We know the story, okay? In this instance, the MCMA is the hare. They think we're so much faster, we're so much smarter. Money, 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 money. Okay, sure, whatever, great. We're the tortoise. We know what's going on. And it's interesting because it's like they'll run every 10 feet, then run back and ask us a question. And then, you don't even have the answers. You don't have any facts. I still wonder. I still wonder where the MCMA gets their testing from and everything, like not just the testing for cannabis, but like all of the statistics and stuff. Because how are you getting those numbers? That stuff was illegal to do years ago, like when you said you're doing it. How you doing
Right.
it? You know what I mean? And so
Right.
there's a lot of backdoor bullshit. Not to mention, remember what was it not too long ago that they were using like pictures full of spider mites and shit on their website and then stock images? It's like, come on, you're not even trying now. You're not
Mhm.
even trying. And so we all know the story of the tortoise and the hare. We know the story. We just have to remain, consistent and keep moving forward. That's really what it is. Don't go out there to these protests. They're peaceful protests, y'all. That's the point. Just show up. If you can't keep your cool, just show up and keep your mouth shut. That's really what it is, okay?
Yeah.
Just be there. I also want to point out one more organization. It's and you know her well, Miss Amy Carter with More Than Hope. Now,
Yes, she's amazing. She is just
yeah,
such a go-getter. She and
she doesn't sleep.
Latrish, they have been out lobbying, um, in Lansing for just weeks, talking to
Hmm.
reps and asking them to vote no on these bills. Um, Jaden's Law is super important that allows children to use non-smokable medication
Hmm.
in
Like
school.
CBD, y'all.
So, like the nurse or the social worker, whoever provides the medicine in school, could do that the same with non-smokable cannabis. It's a great mission and it's a great cause.
It really is. You got Latrish Matson out there with Amy Carter. They're killing it.
Yeah,
You got Ryan Bringold out there. He's killing it. Like those people right there, they're a light,
Susan
a beacon of
Fisher,
hope.
they're just rock stars.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I didn't want to give them all that, but I'm just kidding. They're great people. No, and that's my point. Like they're great people doing an even greater thing, and that's the point of it. We're not trying to be right here. We already know who's right. We're trying to do what's right, and that is the difference. And
Yeah. And
I,
so while
my
they're
life.
focused, a lot of they have to stay focused right now on these on the state bills. But
Hmm.
I try to stay more focused on the local stuff because I notice that if I don't put anything out about it, people don't show up. If we put
Right.
out a call to action, people do show up and it changes the outcome of the ordinances. That's why it's so imperative to come out to these local township meetings, whether you live there or you don't. And if you don't live there, find somebody who does and bring them to the meeting because they do listen to the residents. And even though they don't really like to hear the outsiders, they do take your comments into consideration and they are on the record. So it's important to show up to these municipal meetings because caregivers and patients are under attack from both angles. We have the state and we
Hmm.
have the municipal level, and it's just
And
like
then soon
they're coming
federal.
in at all angles. And so we have to stay vigilant and try to um, do as much as we can on both fronts. That brings me back to Wednesday night. We have Armada Township. Now they
Hmm.
are part of Macomb County. And Macomb County has passed quite a few restrictive caregiver ordinances throughout their municipalities. Um, the last reading was in planning for Armada, and there was some women who showed up. Well, not necessarily all women, but residents that showed up who were in support of the ordinance. And the only people that showed up to argue against it was myself and Buddy Dalton, and he owns Cloud Cultivation. So huge shout out to Buddy. Check out his grow
What up? What
store,
up?
Cloud Cultivation. He's fighting for
That
your
man's
rights as
reputation
well.
precedes him, by the way.
Yeah, he's totally out here fighting for your rights with me out in local ordinances. So, but we were the only two people that showed up to actually like speak against the ordinance. So
Mm.
that was in planning. There was one other gentleman who showed up. I believe he might have been through the Michigan Caregivers Association, Mr. Scott Hagestorm. Yeah, so he was there. It was us three essentially. And so I really hope to see more people on Wednesday. This meeting in particular with Armada Township is a in-person and virtual meeting. So regardless of where you're at, all you need is the GoToMeeting app, and you can log on and join that meeting and give your 3-minute comment for public comment, and hopefully help change the outcome of this ordinance. Armada Township actually says that every caregiver has to go to the industrial area, that nobody can grow in their homes. You cannot grow more than 12 plants in your home if you're a caregiver or anybody in Armada Township if this passes. And I just think that's completely unacceptable. Caregivers are out of business. They don't have money to pay for space in an
Right.
industrial area. And
And
they
if
can't even tell me how many spots are available in this area. You know, if they put out all these caregivers to this spot to this industrial area, how many properties are available and
mhm.
how much do they cost? Those are the two questions I had that have yet to be answered.
Even more so, you're not growing 72 plants at one time. That's not how caregivers do it. You stage that stuff out. You know what I'm saying? If you're, at least if you're a smart grower, which 9 times out of 10 is the point. Not to mention, you're not doing it in suburbs. That's not,
Right.
that's not how that works. Plus, I mean, I was there, you were there. Mr. Steve Linder for the MCMA took out a bag of weed, that coincidentally didn't stink, but he said it did. That's funny because I ain't smell it. And I'm a weed hound, bro. He brought these pictures in to use that were obviously clearly ignored. It was a big, dog and pony show, but the pictures were representative of how big the plants would get. No, they're not. That's not how that works, but they know nothing of this, and it's interesting because one of the things that I disagree with this whole thing, one, in addition to damn near everything, but the fact that you have to get a permit, grow as a caregiver, you get cut down, from I think it's 5 to 1 or whatever the number is, okay? And then you sign away your right to demand a warrant for them to come on your property. They can come and kick in your door anytime they want to and come take your shit and anything of that nature. You completely sign your rights away. Are you kidding me? Are
Well, they
you
have
kidding me?
changed
No, no,
a
no, no.
couple of things. So in the House bill, it did originally take caregivers from 5 patients down to 1,
Okay.
but they have since changed that because of the outpour talking about how this affects patients and like, well, which
Okay.
patient gets kicked off their caregiver? So they
Right.
decided that the caregiver can keep all 5 patients, but now they go down to 12 to 24 plants. So they said 24 plants, but now there's a thing called H4, which I believe is an amendment. And they're trying to say that no, not 24 plants, only 12 plants. So 12 plants divided among 5 patients. That's not going to work because you cannot you cannot make the edibles, you cannot make the tincture, you cannot make the RSO with that
No,
limited
you
amount of
can't.
plants. You cannot keep the genetics stable. There's just no way. That's completely unreasonable. It would completely rewrite the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act, which was a voted in initiative. It's a people's bill, and this would happen without the vote of the people. So it's
Hmm.
really just a huge slap in the face. It's for greed. It's for money over patients, and it's unacceptable. That's another
I
reason
mean,
why
yeah,
More Than Hope is out there fighting, is because
mhm.
this really harms patients.
And that's the thing. The moment that Listen, personally, I believe there should be three levels of cannabis, much like there is with booze. Okay, hear me out. There should be home grow, home brew. It happens. Okay, craft grow, craft brew. You have those craft brews and breweries and stuff like that. They're doing great, cool. And I think there should be corporate cannabis because without balance, we can't have anything. But the problem is now you've got corporate cannabis wanting to bleed away and nudge itself in there. That's not how that's going to work, yo. Okay, listen. This is a David and Goliath story if I've ever heard it. Cannabis, you're not going to be able to defeat this. That's the truth of it. It's the exact same tactics, the exact same way, over and over again to get an outcome that in reality they don't care about patients. It's profits over patients. And once that became like their narrative and their motive, that's when I got involved. That's when I'm like, no, 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 this is not okay. Because real talk, listen, I'm an anarchist at heart. Anyone who knows me knows that I agree with what makes sense. Okay, if it logically makes sense, then let's do that. However, and I'll hear anybody out logically, but if I'm able to completely eviscerate and decimate your logic, your quote unquote sound logic, within mere minutes with just a few local facts and facilitations. Meaning, I'll go down the street and show you Gertrude who had cancer at 60 and now she doesn't because all she did was RSO, and the doctors are scratching their brains because here's the fucking funny part: the doctors who are watching this happen, watching people go on chemo and go on the RSO, they're like, we don't know what's going on. Obviously, it's working, but we can't tell you because we don't have the access to the medical files because it was illegal. So if that is the fucking case, how the hell did the MCMA get it if doctors can't get it first?
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying. These statistics and stuff, how are you going to sit here and tell me that there's a block of money that exists on these these statistics that you did that you can't account for? Well, you can't account for that because you're not accounting for anything correctly. You understand? And now you tell me that unsolicited users are now automatically black market. That's not how that works.
Yeah.
It's not how that works. And to me personally, I feel they've just taken choice out of it. They don't even care anymore.
Choice. They don't want you to have a choice. They want patients to be forced to go to a dispensary, and they're not going to give that patient a low cost, no cost benefit.
Well, a lot of
they're going to give them a free pre-roll of boof
and a high five. That's it.
And and they're not going to educate the patient on what they need. No. They're not going to keep that quality of medication in day after day after day. They're going to change it. There's a lot of products that patients require that have certain ingredients, that have special ingredients in them that they're not going to do with a dispensary. They cannot obtain that medication from a dispensary.
I find it funny because the dispensaries, not most dispensaries, but corporate cannabis right now is hiding behind, well, the caregivers don't want to test their stuff. Well, they do. No, hear me out. I know a bunch of caregivers do. I know a bunch of caregivers that do. I do. Seriously. Well, because they want to brag. They got that COA. They're like, boom, 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 boom. That's the truth. I get it. It's a pride thing. Cool. But at the same time, how come, and hear me out, how come it's really just corporate cannabises that are failing these tests?
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying. So it's just like, but that test doesn't count because I failed it. Well, I'm sorry. You can't hate the races that you didn't win. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, what?
It's just like anything you make on a factory line is going to have a lot of issues. Like, I remember one jobs I had before. I was a third-party quality inspector for automotive parts. When you have something coming off the line in a factory, you're going to have a run that's going to be probably shit. It's not going to be good. And so you have inspectors to check this, and they're like, no, get this out of here. But quality instead of getting rid of those products, they remediate it and just turn it into things you can use anyway, even though it was moldy and not good and would have never passed, an inspection. They're still using it. And anytime you go up from a small craft to a big, factory line of something, you're going to have these quality issues.
Imperfections, it happens.
People want to have a choice. They don't mind having potentially untested product that is better versus product that's been tested but is, not that great. People deserve a choice. That's capitalism. We don't need any monopolies.
Well, you know,
Monopolies are
once you've
not what we
taken
need.
choice out of it, now it's just coercion. You know what I'm saying? You're like, listen,
Mhm.
you can choose not to, but we're gonna fuck you over. You know what I'm saying? Or you
Yeah,
can choose to do it, or we're gonna fuck you up. It's just one of those. It's serious. It's come down to, okay, you want to do this, buy a permit. That's not okay. You know, the anarchist in me is just like, no, dude, if I want to buy milk from
yeah,
the farmer, I'm gonna do it. I'm not gonna drive all the way to town to pay your stupid fucking tax. I'm gonna buy me some milk. I'm gonna enjoy it because he made more money and it was delicious and you didn't put in your bullshit bleach in it or whatever have you. You know what I mean? Whatever conspiracy
yeah,
theories you want to believe. But that's my point. Like, if I want to get my medicine from my caregiver or grow it myself, get the fuck off my back. And that's me saying that as a medical patient. You know,
yeah,
listen, I've lived a life, you know, of passion. You don't become a chef to pay the fucking bills. Are you kidding me? You do it because you love food. In my soul, you would probably find a bunch of nudes. My point is, you know, noodles. That is, y'all, for you very, you know, decrepit minded people out there. I'm kidding, but you know, I've lived that life where I had questioned upon time and time again, how much is an hour of my life worth? Now, you really can't, you know, you don't ask that in the same sense when you're looking at this RSO as a cancer patient and going, how much is my life worth? How much of an hour is my life? You know, what, like, it means the difference. To people that don't see it that way, and they tell you, you know, one thing and then do another, that's manipulation and gaslighting, which is narcissistic as shit. That's toxic, y'all. You understand? Furthermore, you're taking stuff away from patients. Are you kidding me right now? Like, don't make me have to
yeah.
come out of the forest of Nottingham with this shit. But my point is, like, yo, this shit isn't right. Period. You know, and I'm
Yeah.
just happy that I got people like you on my corner, people like Ryan, Amy, Latricia, you know, and everybody out there fighting. There's literally Rick, Jamie. There's too many people to talk about. You know what I mean? But at the same
Yeah.
time, we need to start educating more. We do. Period. You know,
Well,
I
there's
know you're
actually an
dropping.
educational dinner on November
That's true.
9th,
That's true.
and it's for the lawmakers,
Yep.
okay? And like they're plus one, and it's put on by a very small group of people who are caregivers and patients, such as
Mm-hmm.
Amy Carter, Latrish Matson, Ryan Bringold, Jamie Lowell, Joe Sullivan, and they are having this dinner to educate, not lobby, but to educate the lawmakers
Mm-hmm.
on how cannabis helps patients, what it really does for people, and who caregivers really are. Because caregivers are truly they're members of your community. They buy at your stores. They
Mm-hmm.
frequent your church. They bit your businesses. They are wonderful members of your community. They're your friends and your neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
So this dinner is needed, and that's the other thing I just want people to know is that there are so many great people that don't have ulterior motives who are fighting
Mm-hmm.
for caregiver rights, who are fighting for patient rights. And that's the list of people that we have already spoken about. That's
Mm-hmm.
me, that's you.
Mm-hmm.
And, we are out there lobbying in Lansing. We are doing podcasts. We are putting information on social media. We are
All while
going to
smoking
township
weed, y'all.
meetings. You
All while
know,
smoking weed.
we are doing all of this. And so I want to reiterate too, I'm not even a caregiver. I just care. It's
Mm-hmm.
possible to actually reach people that aren't a caregiver. They just give a shit. Isn't that like a mind blowing, concept that you could actually care and get involved without being a caregiver. So
Mm-hmm.
that's part of what I do as well. I try to reach other people outside of the cannabis community and remind them that just like when we show up for breast cancer awareness, we don't have to have breast cancer to support the research
Mm-mm.
and finding a cure. We don't have to be growers or users to support the growers who provide medicine for sick patients.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you know, myself, I'm a patient, you know, and my caregiver is a great person. You know, they know who they are, but I don't advocate for a sense of, hey, look at me, this is how I fixed everything in my life, blah blah blah. There's a sense of growing that you have to have as well. You know, that's what people don't understand. You're still going to have to go through the shit, okay? You're still going to have to grow up. Cannabis just makes it easier. Real talk, it seriously does. Okay?
Yeah.
there's something about this molecular level of coffee and cannabis, yo. Okay, let me tell you, my mornings are a lot different. I used to wake up hungover, knocking on death's door every single day, being able to light a fire with my breath. Seriously. And now I just get up, smoke a joint, have a cup of coffee, and go, okay, what new shit or fresh hell is there today? You know what I mean? And then, proceed with my
Awesome.
day. It's a little bit of a bleak
Congratulations
outlook, but
on your sobriety from alcohol. That's a great thing
exactly.
to be
Thank you.
proud
And it is difficult. It is an everyday battle, but at the same time, I'm able to live with it under the same roof. My girlfriend partakes all the time, and that's absolutely fine. I think she learned her lesson this weekend. We had some friends come into town, and she drank a little bit more than she normally does. I drove home. I also took some very embarrassing drunk photos, so there was that. And the next day, she was out of commission the entire day. The entire day, she was like, "I'm hungover. I'm never drinking again, ever, never, ever, never." And I'm sure in like 2 days she'll have a beer. But the point is, you know, it's interesting because that makes me think back to something that Mr. Steve Linder did as far as what he presented to, you know, um, um, the representatives there.
the
He set out a
regulatory committee.
Correct. He set out a bunch of stuff on the table, cannabis included, and said you have to have a license to get that. You got to. So he had aspirin, to Sudafed.
He
He
put
had whiskey.
booze,
He had some
aspirin.
booze. The whole nine.
He was
The
having a party
funniest.
up there.
Oh, he did. He did. No, of course we know he knows how to do it. That's not even the issue. Okay, but what he didn't account for is this. All right, everything on that table is known. Is known to have at least killed someone.
And
A.
addiction. Yep.
B. We're just going to leave it generally vague and people can do
Yeah.
their own research. Each
To the
one of those things, aspirin and ibuprofen and
Yep.
Sudafed fucking included, okay, has killed at least one person.
You're
Now,
right.
that's just one. So let's say there's 10 things on the table, that's 10. Let's see how many people cannabis has killed. Exactly. It's equivalent to the number of people impaled by a unicorn, if that helps, shed some
Right.
fantasy light on it or something. But the fact of the matter is, you're showing it's not the same shit, you dumbass. That's really what I wanted to say to him. I go, listen, I'll tell you what. Why don't you take one of everything on that table, then let me know what happens? You know what? Take it all at the same time. Why don't you? I guarantee that one says don't take it with the other and vice versa. You know what I mean? I'll tell you what.
Yep.
While you're doing it, why don't you go and smoke that bag of grass too? Go ahead.
Yeah.
I bet you
And his
won't.
little baggie. Oh, this is unlicensed product in the baggie. Like, oh, it's so embarrassing. Like,
Real
yo, we
talk.
cannot let this dingleberry take away our rights. Like, come on.
So funny story.
Like,
Funny story. You should mention that. He said it was caregiver product. All right, I got pretty decent eyes and I looked at it. Do you know what PGRs are?
I've heard of them, and it's like an artificial substance that makes
Yeah,
buds
it's
hard.
a plant.
Is that
It's a plant growth regulator. Okay, so what
okay?
happens
Yeah.
is you add the PGRs to make your buds dense, and then once you have them, they're smoother nugs. Like the dispensary. Whereas anti-PGR, it's like a wild flower. That's caregiver versus dispensary. Yo, homie was flashing a baggie that he just went and bought and threw PGR weed in there, slinging it, saying it's caregivers. No, it's not. And if you would have done half of your homework or even read through the fucking chapters skimming, you'd have known that shit.
That was
Oh, but
hilarious. Like
wait,
I was laughing my ass off. Like that was such a joke. You
it
know
really
what I mean? It
was.
was just such a joke. Anyone that watched that was like, it was just so cringe. I was
It
cringing
was.
the whole time.
It was.
Yeah.
You know,
And then it was also the most frustrating part of that whole meeting with the regulatory house committee was that they gave an hour and a half or over an hour of time to the MCMA, the Municipal League,
mhm,
the insurance people, whoever, the Anderson Tax Group, but they only allowed two patients to
mhm,
speak. Actually, I think it was one patient, Susan Fisher,
yep,
Amy Carter, who
yep,
is a mother of a
yep.
son who uses who uses pediatric cannabis.
Jaden, right?
Um, we had George Brinko with the Michigan
Yep.
Caregivers Association. We had Joe Sullivan with the United Caregivers Association, United Cannabis Caregiver Association, and then Rick Thompson.
from
So it
Michigan
wasn't so
Normal.
two patients. Yeah, Rick Thompson with Michigan Normal. So Rick, I believe, is a patient, and then
Hmm.
Susan Fisher is a patient. So we technically only had two patients even get to speak when hundreds made their way down to Lansing that need
Hmm.
walkers, who needed rides, and they
That
were
doesn't
not
even
even given
count
a
the
voice.
people on Zoom wanting to speak.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. There was quite a few and they were not allowed any,
Mm.
discretion. They did actually turn the chat off on Zoom because there were people being disrespectful and
Hmm.
using swear words. And so
Hmm.
they went, boop, no more chat for any of you.
I want to go back to something that I've seen in the news as of late on social media, and I know you've seen it because we're in the same groups. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I got you in my corner, so I know you've seen it. So let's talk about it like peers here, okay? Let's talk about George
All right.
Brinko. I don't really know him, okay? I'm just gonna tell you what I think and what I know and how and what I feel. Okay, that's all I can say. Me being me,
Right.
what I think is he's doing it wrong. A, B. What I know, yo, listen. If you have a group called the Michigan Caregivers Association, and the only thing that you can really provide to the people is that we should donate, everybody, that cares for caregivers should throw stupid amounts of money at this association in the hopes that we can fight this. Okay, that's we had this meeting right after that, this whole thing. And it's interesting because now he's being called out by a certain specific boycott group in Michigan.
Oh, yeah. They're great
And
people. I like
oh,
them.
they're great people. No, no, they're great people. I'm with it. But he went on to social media and bragged and boasted that House of Dank, who was on said boycott list, paid them $50,000 for this seal of approval. Now, listen to me. You can slap a seal of approval on some shit, it's still gonna be shit. You understand? That's
Yes,
all I'm going to
sir.
say about that. That's not, I'm not saying that about anybody. Whatever connotation you want to put, you can put. I don't give a shit. I really don't. But I'm just going to avoid the shit altogether. My point, you end up on the boycott list for a fucking reason. Then they give you a chance to come on, okay, and talk to a panel of these professionals and defend why. And honestly, they have removed people from the list. That's how that
Mhm.
works. They're
Yep.
keeping up. They're keeping their words. I
Yep.
say, get it. I
Hmm.
say, if you get in the hot seat and you feel a little hot around the neck, maybe you fucking should. Okay. I feel that. Listen, if these people, they know what they're doing. They already know what they're going to say. They had this whole thing planned because that's how narcissism works. That's how control works. They've used finite details in specific, they know what's going on. Okay. But at the same time, how do you create another caregiver association? How do you do that? Now, hang on. My question to this is this. My question to this whole George Brinko thing. Okay, homie, they donated 50K. All right, cool. Where's it going? I would like to see an allocation of funds on this point. I'd like to see you fucking, put it up, man. Are you donating this to caregivers? Or are you going to the strip club with homeboy, with old Rick there, white boy Rick, huh? Let's
Yeah.
not even talking about common citizen here, dog. How come you're associated and you're straight up partying around with these said people, man? It don't look good on you, homie. Especially when you come out and you have somebody else sitting there. Hey, Big Rick said, or Big George said this, and blah 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 blah. And George's like, yeah. Fuck you, man. And we ain't talking to
Right.
you. I want to talk to him. I want to talk to him. And then when I went to go shake his hand, I'll tell you this: for a big man, that's the weakest handshake I've ever fucking had. That tells you something. Moving on from that, like, yo, if you're gonna fucking try and get in this fight, that's cool. But at the same time, if you're scared about a little boycott list, real talk, if you're scared about a little boycott list and you can't back that shit up and you think that giving people the seal of approval, listen, homie, I give you my seal of disapproval. How's that? How's
Yeah.
that? Does that make you feel different? No, it fucking doesn't. You see what I'm saying?
Yes. And
If if we can prove that he does something good with that 50K, all right, hear me out and hear me out. If we can prove, if beyond evidence of a reasonable doubt at this point, okay, show me an allocation of funds. Show me where you're taking them. If you're kicking that to a lawyer, fuck that, man. Are you serious? Now, even more so, how is that helping the community at hand? How is that helping anybody but yourself? Because right now, it seems like House of Dank fucked up, hit that boycott list, went straight to the Caregivers Association because y'all know each other. They slapped you with some money and you made them a pretty sticker. That's what
Yeah.
it looks like. Real talk.
Yeah.
And I don't give a shit. Any of those motherfuckers want to come on my show. That's absolutely fine. That's we'll talk to them.
Right.
Like I said, I will hear anything you got to say logically. But when you try to fucking come at me like, I don't have to show you shit. No, it ain't me we talking about.
But I completely agree. And I was really excited to see another caregiver group come into the mix.
Right.
They came in after the United Cannabis Caregiver Association, whom I'm friends with the majority of those members, and I've worked with them. But then this group came in, and I was interested to see what they had to offer. I didn't really get a chance other than just seeing their social media groups and or their pages and their actions on them. So, for instance, like what you're talking about with the the House of Dank. I would just like to personally say that they do not represent all caregivers and patients, and they don't have the authority to remove somebody off of the boycott list because they didn't create the boycott list. So you don't just get to like have the authority to remove somebody off of a boycott list, and you certainly are not the voice of all the caregivers and the patients. I have also noticed a post that I do take issue with, something to the effect that they posted that says that they are the only group that has done anything to like sway the legislators' minds in Lansing. And I would just like to completely like disagree with that statement. And I would argue that more than Hope with Amy Carter and Latrice Matson, they are the ones that have done more for the caregivers and the patients. So, I mean, to me, his group is more about ego and fulfilling that ego and getting that money than they are for the patients and the caregivers.
At the same time,
And I have a problem with that aspect.
I will agree with that. I will agree with that. However, the only way that I will eat my fucking words right now, and I'll go on a public apology. I don't give a flying fuck. If you show me an allocation of
lobbyists, I mean, you know that, right? So a lot of the money is
I didn't know that, and we'll talk about that in a second. But if let's say that they did get the 50K, they bragged about it, okay, or maybe it never happened. Let's say it's fictitious. That's fucking stupid to lie about, but even more, loose threads at that point, But if you want to fabricate something good, let's just say that they do weave a halfway decent little shirt. You feel me? If they take that 50K and they put it back into actually fighting these things and they can show us an allocation of funds, like, dude, homie, if you're going to be legit, it shouldn't be hard for you to prove that you're going to be legit. Meaning you're like, all right, I went and paid for this. I went and paid for that. I went and paid for this. And then boom, here it is. Because if you can post this seal of approval bullshit and this 50K bullshit, you can prove your innocence easily. So I will eat my fucking words here if you show us an allocation of funds and how it helps caregivers. Because real talk, Jen and I here have already done more. What bill was it when we went talk to that house rep about food? I don't remember. It was like 43 something.
Like that 43, 62 or 47. I don't remember. I had it, but it was like
you know what I'm talking about, though, right? It was
Yeah.
about food and eating and consumption and stuff.
About smoking inside of a restaurant, potentially, and they were trying to ban it no matter what. And it was like, well, if you're a private restaurant owner and you want to have an after hours like type party or an event like with a cannabis shop, then you're hurting this brand new entrepreneur space. So.
And then look at what happened. You see what I'm saying? They opened it up for interpretation. I mean, it's basically it's up to the private property owner at that point. So if a restaurant has an after party and they want to smoke, get it. You know what I mean? Because it's not tobacco. I would like to point out that when we went, she goes, "Listen, we don't have the information on this because, as you said, it was illegal for years. But we were getting complaints." And she goes, "But I don't really believe them." She was on her side because she didn't have anything else to base this off of. And so I was like, "Oh shit. Well, that's my point. We sat down, it got figured out. It wasn't the exact, they added the word tutelage or whatever. They made it some legal
Cartilage.
terms. Right. It was so stupid.
That was
And
that
she's like,
weird word. I still don't remember looking it up, so
she
I need
said
to
it
look up
had
that
something to do with like
definition.
owning a house in like a neighborhood or something like that. And I was like, that's dumb. But moving on. So we had a direct effect. I thought, politics were easy at that point. I was like, shit, sit down, talk to somebody, and call it a day. That's not how it works. But how come that shit happened? How come we had, a flip script there? That didn't cost us 50 grand.
No, because
You
the
see what I'm
people went out
saying?
there and we did stuff. Yes, it doesn't
Exactly.
like and maybe it's an unpopular opinion, but I think it's the truth. A lobbyist is just a paid activist. So
Yeah.
anybody can go out there and lobby on behalf of themselves and what they want to their representatives, and it doesn't cost you money to do that. What
Mm.
happens though is even if they're on our side, they always have the potential of being persuaded to go the other way via some kind of bribe,
Yeah.
to put it in the least bit.
Yeah. I mean, it's a certain. I don't like to say the word bribe. Hear me out. I like to say it's a different
I'm
color
blunt.
of green. It's a different color of green. You know what I mean? It's all right, but that's what I'm saying. Like it comes down to ethics. Being a patient and knowing caregivers and seeing the care. It fucking saved my life. Real. As cliche as it is, but
And that's what bothers me about George, ethics and morals. And I feel like
yes.
he's selling out for, $50,000 to a place that has been lobbying, or maybe they haven't been actively lobbying, but they put the products on the shelves of the companies that have been active lobbying against the caregivers to take away their rights. So I just don't see how 50 grand even comes close to the damage that
Mm.
that company has done.
So
And
all they're
now
gonna
House of
say
Dank is
is
apparently
that
going to come to Genesee Township to try to stand up for the caregivers and Vehicle City and, show face. And I think that's so fake
don't do that.
because how many ordinance have we had over just the last year? And not one of them places have come. Not one has shown up. They've been putting these MCMA products on their shelves and selling
Mm-hmm.
them
Mm-hmm.
while we're out here fighting for caregiver rights. So I just
Mm-hmm.
think it's fake. And that's why I posted the other day that, my morals aren't for sale. If you want my seal of approval, take down the MCMA garbage, stop
Mm-hmm.
selling it in your store, and that will, earn Jen's seal of approval.
Exactly. And it's funny because what's going to happen when federal hits? That's the thing. Because here's the thing: what people don't understand about courts, and correct me if I'm wrong, is jurisdiction. Okay, so let's say that you do something that's federally legal, but by the state it's technically illegal. Well, technically you could get away with it because you're within the state that resides within the country. So technically it's entrapment. You see what I'm saying? Local ordinances or whatever have you, you can contest them and technically get away with them because you can challenge the jurisdiction. It's just a way that people do it all the time. Don't fucking tell me they don't, because they do. The language is a lot more complex than that, but money makes it make a lot of sense. That's all I'm going to say. Listen, things like this, these townships going under meetings and whatnot. You've got Genesee, Armada, and Forest townships. These are pushed by money. Facts. These things don't happen this quickly without money behind it. Furthermore, they see federal coming down the pipeline. They're like, yo, what can we get in? What can we rob? What can we, hemorrhage or leak from this until federal gets here and gets their cut too, because federal's wanting to hitting it with another 30+%. So now
Right?
just Michigan's going to be what, 40-50%? That's just in taxes. Are you fucking kidding me? That right there is reason for caregivers. B, I'd like to make a point. Okay, so I want you to as just a general consumer of cannabis, to go to Michigan and look at something for me. And I ask you, hear me out, don't fucking buy anything, but I ask you, go into an MCMA dispensary, please. Please, just go in there, and I want you to look for something, okay? I want you to look for RSO. Rick Simpson, which is funny because a lot of MCMA companies and dispensaries are like, well, we can't get it. Yeah, you fucking can't, because it's Rick Simpson oil and it's used to serve, to cure to help with chemotherapy, and it's known to cure cancer. The reason you don't carry it is because you don't give a shit about your caregivers, because there isn't a
And chronic
demand. You want to know why
pain
there's
and
not a
also a
demand?
lot.
Because the caregivers know what they're doing. You see what I'm saying? And when you do get RSO, from them, it's not truly, the correct thing. It's just it's whatever concoction that's thrown in there. They don't want to do the testing. Trust me, you don't, because it's remediated bullshit for moldy ass weed. You
Yeah.
understand? That's the point. Okay. If you go to a good, there are great shops out there. Redemption Cannabis right now. Ryan just had a little girl, a little baby, sorry, and
Ryan
got a new
Basar, right?
office. Yeah, Ryan Basor, Redemption Cannabis. They do an amazing RSO, is what I was going to say. I know a lot of caregivers that do it as well. I know a few other dispensaries that sell it or have the option of it. Furthermore, that's my point. But at the same time, unfortunately, it is kind of goddamn ridiculous in price. But that's the thing. How the hell are we going for, are we trying to limit nature here? That's what I want to know. Why do we have to go through and even have, and I love these guys and gals involved in this, but decriminalize nature? With Detroit, there's a win there now. We can shrooms and DMT and all that other stuff. That's pretty, there's psychedelics. That's gnarly. That's sweet as shit. Not my jam all the time, but I get it. I'm with it. There's a lot of health in mushrooms and microdosing, a lot of mental, that's awesome. I
Mhm.
just, I really, really hope that Joe Rogan doesn't hear about DMT being legal in Detroit and decides to go there, because that guy is a lot. That's all I'm going to say. I respect him, but at the same time, he's a lot. He's a lot. But I really think that in order for us to really attack this from all fronts, which is why we're being berated, let's face it, the activists here, we are activists, period. Okay. There are a lot of people that have become before our time. Adam Brooks, excuse me. John Sinclair. John Sinclair's the entire reason for Hash Bash. Period. Okay. And you got Charlie Strackbine doing his Monroe Street Fair thing. Then you've got, and I want people to Google this and research this, but Rainbow Farms. There was a shootout in Rainbow Farms 20 plus years ago that set the stage of cannabis in Michigan. And then 2008, we create the caregiver system that has sat untouched for, a little bit over a decade. And now they want to decimate the entire reason and reasons that Michigan was on the map cannabis wise. Michigan is world renowned hash bash wise. Are you fucking kidding me? And you want to test with that? All right, so now we know where you're pulling your funds from. We know how you're gonna, angle it. We know you've already ruined the states that you're already in. Why the hell should we continue this, y'all? Come on, Michigan, wake the fuck up. We're smarter than this. Are you serious? And if you're not, maybe you shouldn't be smoking weed to begin with. Maybe you should go back to the books and hit it and learn how to actually read a fucking sentence. You feel me? That's what I'm
Yep.
saying. People aren't even, they're not thinking anymore. Listen, I smoke cannabis to inhale the good shit and exhale the bad shit. That's the truth. Okay? I have to have bad days to have good days. We know the balance, we know how it works. What I'm saying is this: when you start taking medicine away from people that are using this to buy that 1 hour of life left, just to have a good quality of life on their way out of this existence, you're a fucking asshole. Period. I don't care. I really don't want to meet anybody who would agree with that. Now, furthermore, anybody in the MCMA, Steve Linder, this is for you, homie. I want you to tell me what you would do if your grandma was sick with cancer and was on her way out, or if she was in pain and the only thing you could give her was cannabis because that's the only thing that works. Would you do this? You'd be like, yeah, but I would give it from, I don't give a, no, you're already semantically arguing the issue. Yes or fucking no. The fact is, if you already want to argue semantics, that shows me your character. That shows me that you're putting second thought into this and that you're trying to wiggle. No, stop clouding the waters. Period. Period. If your grandmother was in need of RSO, you would be scrambling to a caregiver. Period. Because they're saving lives. The only thing you're worried about is saving profits.
He
So,
probably just pushed her off a cliff.
I mean, listen, I'm not going to say all that, but
I
what I
mean,
will
that's
say is
how he
this.
would do it if, like, especially if they were gonna pay him like $5, he would just give her the boot right off of a cliff. I promise.
I would hope he wouldn't. That's the truth. I would hope he wouldn't. But at the same time, I feel I think that they're so undereducated, the MCMA, that they've tried to create this narrative in order to manipulate the situation and gaslight people around it because they don't know any better, because they're you know it's just it's a mess. It really, really is. But I will tell you this: Amy Carter is hands down the voice for the caregivers. I will gladly stand anywhere that woman is standing. Same goes with you, Jen. Seriously, like, there's a lot of things that I can't make it to, and you guys know what I've got stuff going on. You know that, like, I'm stupid busy. Like, I apologize about that. And like, let's face it, yo, I'm not even gonna lie to you. I just came out of a solid 2 week depression. That shit was deep for me, real talk. But at the same time, I'm here now and I'm still fighting. You know what I mean? Like, it took me to the point to where I almost wanted to walk away from all of this. And there's going to be many other times like this before, seriously. But
Yep.
then I get this phone call from you going, "Oh, by the way, tomorrow Channel 6 News is going to come talk to you in your house about weed." And I'm like, "Oh shit, okay, I guess this is happening again." At the same time, my real morsel, what do I get out of this? Because there's always a catch. There's always, an ask and a tell. I want to know more about the culture behind it. I want to know those juicy stories. I want to be able to look in a person's eyes and watch the static go away and tune into the channel that is that person. You know what I mean? I want to, be able to educate and spread awareness on how this I need to end the stigma. That's really what it is. And I cannot do this alone, y'all. I cannot do it alone. I need more people. We need more people. So definitely, Tuesday, Wednesday, and weirdly enough, Thursday, Genesee Township or Armada Township, Forest Township. Listen, go out there, raise hell, but at the same time, do it smart, do it peacefully, y'all. Do it respectfully, okay? You got Vehicle
Absolutely.
City. We need to protect them. Genesee County, we got to protect them. That's my point. We need to protect these things, because if we don't, then they're going to eradicate an entire culture and just farm it for capitalism. I mean,
Yep.
unless that's something that you like, in which case I don't think you would be watching this show right now. But unfortunately, yeah, you are. But I that's it's really, that's all there is to it. It is very black and white. It is very like textbook. This is just bad. And I don't want to sit here and and hound anybody else and pull any other strings and kind of push anywhere else. I don't want to do that. I want to, at the end of the day, you either agree with people or you disagree. You either know what you're fighting for, or you become part of the issue. You become part of the reason people are fighting. My own mom, had cancer a few times, and she used cannabis to ease her life a little bit. She knew that she had a very limited number of days, and it is what it is, man. But she used cannabis, and it helped her. It did. It put smiles on her days that that I don't think that I could smile on those days. But my point of all of this is, we never know what another person is going through. So don't make judgment, you know. Furthermore, if a person has to just smoke a joint in order for them to get some sleep, leave them alone. If they've got to smoke a joint in order to, have their body stop aching from the chemotherapy that they've got to go under or whatever have you, leave them the fuck alone. That's
That's
just
right.
it. That's just it. And here's the thing: you already got a hold of insulin, and now you know what I mean. That's astronomical in price. That's what's going to happen. Did you know that hemp slash cannabis is the sixth most like sought after crop in America right now?
I bet.
I wonder why. We won't even talk about phytoremediation and what it does to the ground and all of the great properties. We won't even talk about any of that. They're looking at the different other color of green, because it's
Yeah.
breaking glass ceilings. And that's absolutely great. Kind of saw it coming. But here's the best part: the race hasn't even started yet. This is just people who are showing up. We haven't even, the gun hasn't even, okay, maybe not a gun with the whole Alec Baldwin thing going on, but, the shotgun start, okay, again, but still, that hasn't happened yet. So if we haven't even started the race and we're already having bickering and fighting like that, again, let's go back to the tortoise and the hare. What do you think's going to happen? Now, I say this, and it's interesting because they want to shut down Genesee County. Correct me if I'm wrong. For what was it? They had an actual date. They said 8 years, right?
right?
So let me get this straight. So you're going to tell somebody, hang on, let's just look at it as business owners. You're going to tell a business owner, no matter what it is, that they can't practice or have a business for 8 years because of what they do. That's
See,
interesting.
I don't know if I heard about that part. I don't know. I'm sorry. I just zoned
No, you're
out. I
good.
didn't zone out. It was like 8 years. They've had their business for like 10 years.
Right.
But the ordinance basically says that they wouldn't be able to like be set up near like a school or a few other places like an apartment complex. Just weird things that would make it so that they wouldn't be able to operate. And so I don't know if it had any
How is
kind
that
of
not
time frame in it.
coercion? That's what I want to know.
Well, I just don't understand how you can just like make an ordinance to get rid of a business without even letting the business know about it. I mean, and technically they are a nonprofit. So I keep using the
Right.
word business, but really I should say a nonprofit establishment because
Yeah.
that's what they are. They are nonprofits. They donate to the community, they give back. Um, Vehicle City, they are almost like a place of healing where they offer yoga, meditation, art classes, just all kinds of things that people can engage in who don't want to go out to a bar or don't feel comfortable. Maybe, they can go up to this social club and feel like they fit in and do some healing inside and out. And so they offer a lot of good to the community and to cannabis patients. And Genesee County Compassion Club is, the same way. I mean, they're a great place to go for patients to go. They offer a safe transfer spot for caregivers and their patients. So it's just a lot of good for the community. Um, and it would just be a shame to see them being taken down by an ordinance. But the fact remains that the city, the township's attorney didn't even reach out to these businesses or to these nonprofits. They
Kind
didn't
of shady.
contact them. They didn't let them know this was happening, and we're already at a second reading. So I think our hope is that essentially it'll just get tabled or go back to planning, and then they would be included. As stakeholders on this conversation as opposed to just we're going to make this ordinance that makes no sense. And that's what we always hope with every municipality. So like with even
Hmm.
with our Meta township, if people can show up and or write an email or make some phone calls, you can be on the
And all of
record
that's
that way.
posted on her Facebook. So definitely look her up. Jen Bronson Facebook. She'll post it everywhere.
Yeah, and I mean, you can be a part of that conversation. Even if you don't feel comfortable speaking at a meeting, you can write an email, and that
Hmm.
becomes part of the public record. And you can also just call them on the phone and talk to them and explain why these ordinances harm patient caregiver rights and um, explain the biggest thing about all of this is that will not get rid of recreational.
Hmm.
So every adult 21 and older can still grow 12 plants
Hmm.
inside their house and
Hmm.
out,
Hmm.
so it's not going to get rid of that smell. It's not going to get rid of all
Nope.
these problems that they think they have. It's just going to attack medical patients and their caregivers.
Which is
So,
interesting because it also kind of falls in line with the narrative of the MCMA, if you will.
yeah.
That's be. You said it's interesting. Let's go back and talk about. We were talking about a Trump lobbyist.
Yeah. So you
Now,
wanted to know where some of that money went. And
right.
I mean, some of that money is that the Michigan Caregivers Association did hire a lobbyist, and he was a former lobbyist or Trump staffer. So he was
Hmm.
on the Trump campaign. I think they said it was the one that he won. I don't know.
Hmm. Of
Um,
course, they would say that. You know.
but so they hired him, and they also have been paying for like those trucks with the highlight boards on them that had like the evil Steve Linder, like the $1 million guy, but
Okay,
with
those
Steve
were
Linder's
slightly
head.
funny,
So they paid for those, and they paid for this lobbyist,
but those aren't
have,
$50,000 though.
and I'm sure that they have a lawyer. Um, I don't know what else any of their money goes to. That's just some things that they have stated publicly to everybody. So,
Hmm.
um, I have some red flags because I also would like to know where all the money is going, and also they are very partisan. If anyone has visited their social media, you will notice how partisan they are, and that's a bit concerning. I'm more of a progressive, and I believe in
Hmm.
everybody's rights, and not just a
Right.
select. certain people. And so I just have red flags, and I just want people to know where their money's going.
Mm-hmm.
There's groups that have been established for a long time, such as ASA,
Mm-hmm.
Normal, and then we have the one group, in my opinion, that is of integrity and just trustworthy people, and that is the group of More Than Hope, and they
Mm-hmm.
are a nonprofit. And if there's anybody that I was going to donate my money to right now and put my effort behind, it would be that group.
Mm-hmm. And
Because
then you also have the MICIA.
and the MICIA,
Mm-hmm.
and I will say there's a lot of caregivers out there that are kind of like, I don't know who they stand for, if they're really for my rights or if they're more of a, like, willing to barter with my rights.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I've seen, I do think that they do care about patient caregiver rights, and they are out there in Lansing lobbying for the caregivers and against these bills. So, I have actually seen that in person, so I can confirm that.
You know, I have shaken a lot of hands over the time doing what I've been doing so far. I've talked to a lot of people, and it's just like any other industry, But I have noticed that grass attracts a lot of snakes. That I will say, okay. But I'm not pointing the finger at anybody. I'm not, man. I'm just trying to lay in the grass, smoke me a little grass, and look up at the clouds, man, and just kind of reset my life for a moment before I got to deal with the more monotonous bullshit, of what you may or may not want to do, But I think that, again, what it comes down to is the moment that you attack caregivers and you attack their patients, that's a whole different story, because that's intent, man. Listen, if there's a war going on, you don't attack the medics. You start shooting the medics and they're sick, we have a bigger issue. You understand?
Right.
But that's a whole different conversation for a different time, And I feel that, like, I just want to know. I want people to know that, listen, what you're hearing from the MCMA, and I will say this: fuck the MCMA. It's not true. It's not true, because it's
It's fear
it's
mongering and reefer madness.
100%
It's
propaganda at
just,
its finest. But
yeah.
I want you to look up the endocannabinoid system. And then
Oh,
from
yeah.
there, I want you to do your own research. Seriously, do your own research. I'm not saying Facebook study this shit. I'm saying do your own fucking research. I also will include, I'll give you a little bit of a cheating tool, a game genie, if you remember those cheat code, okay?
Ooh.
Talk to a caregiver. If you ask a caregiver what is RSO, they're like, oh, it's cool. This is what it is. That's what it does. Here's the dosage of it. Here's why you take it, and here's how you make it. That's the point. Okay. That's farm to table, if anything, pharmacology wise, if you will. Like, it's instant. Here, I've made this medicine from growing this plant. That's what it is. Furthermore, the entire time that weed has been legal federally, I want you to understand that the United States government has had patents on Marinol, MARINOL,
Yep.
which is cannabis derivative. So the entire time that they're arresting people for it, they're also giving it to certain elite people that need it or
Yep.
whatever have you. Now that's just, come on. Are you serious? Like, we could
It's
keep
sick.
going with this. We could
Yeah.
keep going with this, but we need to change it. We can't worry about what was. We need to worry about what is and what's going to happen. And we have a lot of people that are fighting, like Adam Brook, like I said, like John Sinclair, like Rick Thomas, and I hate to say this, but they're older than we are. That's what I'm trying to say. We are this generation right behind you,
Mhm.
trying to do the same thing, trying to fight the same fight, trying to smoke sometimes the same weed, if you will. But the fact is, they can't do it by themselves, and they're
Yeah.
not going to have to. The fact is, we know who the right people are and who the wrong people are. And when you come at me and you go, well, it's not right just because I said so, I don't want to listen to you. You've taken choice out of it. Once you take the choice out of the situation, that's coercion. That's I'm sorry. Do this or there's consequences. That's narcissism right there. That's gaslighting. That's manipulation. Listen, if that's how you want to live, that's cool. You can stick your ass back in that corporate little cannabis, area. That's fine. I'm going to enjoy the craft area and I'm going to enjoy the home grow area because real talk, you can't stop me. And here's the best part. Even before cannabis was legal, if I wanted to do any of this, I still would have done it because you can't stop me. Also, I would like to admit and say this, you cannot stop the black market, period. I don't care whether you think it exists or not. I don't care if you want to blame it. We don't really give a shit because it's just not going to happen. Because if the black market can survive thus long, you really think you're going to be able to do something about it. We're talking an entire nation war on drugs. You guys did a great job trying to abolish the information and create a stigma. That's amazing. But real talk, this is a different day and age with different voices and different people. And you can't tell us what to do anymore. That's the truth. How far are people willing to go to be governed and shit? It's always been that way. You want to collect rainwater, which is weird as shit, get a permit. No, I mean, collect rainwater, that's great, but the fact that it's illegal until you have a permit to do so, that's terrible. Only in select states, Michigan being one of them. If you want to build a shed on your property that you pay taxes for, mind you, you have to get a permit. Are you serious right now? Are you kidding me? Why should I pay you hundreds of dollars for this permit when I can just build a shed and you would never know? That's what I'm saying. They want to control and make money in any way they possibly can. So basically, it becomes pay to play. So basically, if you want to do it, you got to pay a shit ton of money. You understand? That's not okay because when that happens, that is a straight up you're giving away your rights at that point. You understand? You're buying into the system that they can control. In addition to, if they've got these politicians and lobbyists paid off, local law enforcement's part of it as well. Don't tell me it's not.
Yeah, and I want to come back to the George group. I'm not saying they're a bad group or anything. I don't. I think that any group who is fighting for the caregivers and the patients is great. It's so much needed, and I'm happy. But I just don't feel that they should be going out there and saying who is and who isn't on the boycott list and trying to speak on behalf of the caregivers and patients who support the boycott list. So
listen,
they're trying to say that they're my voice, and I don't believe that to be so. Because I support the boycott list.
I agree.
So that's all I'm trying to say is that I'm glad that they're there and I'm glad they're helping and they're doing what they can. But don't get too far ahead of yourself and to say that we're the voice of everybody now and what we say goes, because that's just not the way it is. In my opinion anyway.
No, I agree. I can disagree with what they are and who they're doing, or who they are or what they're doing and stuff like that. Sorry, but I can still respect them for what, their head being in the right place or for what they have done or anything like that. People make mistakes. They're not $50,000 mistakes. I don't know if I could, that would ruin certain people. But furthermore, my point is this. They will have a chance, to talk, about the boycott list and things like that. I believe House of Dank had numerous ones. I'm not sure. I don't really care about HOD anymore. Okay, I've heard good things and I've heard bad things. I've heard a lot more bad things about HOD than I ever have about good things, but we won't talk about that. That's not about that, okay? It's about the fact that if this is all true and this actually did happen and wasn't just some political stunt, it's the dumbest thing that I could have thought. Come on, how much terrible weed did you have to smoke to come up with I have an idea, let's do this, ho ho ho. It's stupid. I think it's very distasteful. That's just exactly what I'm going to say about it. But furthermore, what are you trying to prove, homie?
It takes money to fight these kind of bills. It does. It takes money to have this educational dinner. It takes money to.
Well, I understand that, but let me ask you this.
But I don't know where I want to see the receipts.
I understand that.
Where's the money
funds,
going?
yeah. But I want to ask you this. So let's put the spotlight on House of Dank real quick. Here's a good question. So, what would cost you more? $50,000 donated to the Michigan Caregivers Association, which was what you did, or would it cost you less money just to remove the MCMA products from your shelves?
Yeah, it's a good one.
So you're going to spend $50,000 to try and get coaxed off the boycott list to this caregivers association that honestly is already in cahoots with other people who are also on the boycott list. So it's not looking good, homie. George, you got a big problem, and it's not dude, come on. What I'm saying is this: it's going to cost a lot less than $50,000, and it's going to help you save face if you just would have taken the fucking products off your shelves, but you chose not to. Then you chose to defend it. Then you tried to fucking talk shit and get out of it. Then you made yourself look like an asshole. Then you went and did this whole political bullshit stunt with the Michigan Caregivers Association. How dumb are you? I really want to know, because I honestly
Yeah.
don't want to smoke what you're smoking, because it's too potent at this point. You
I
feel me?
really respect the boycott list. I respect boycotts in general.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's
Mm-hmm.
a boycott Nestle water in Michigan, I mean, you
Mm-hmm.
boycott things, you things that you just take action on. And this is one of
Exactly.
them. And you don't want to be a scab. You don't want to be the person like, taking the
Mm-hmm.
money or taking the job. Like you support troopers, and the people that are in it support each other, and they support the boycott.
Mm-hmm.
And if these people don't want to be on this list, all they have to do is stop supporting and stop purchasing the MCMA
Easy.
product right now until all this shit gets worked out. I
Easy.
mean, literally, like that's all they need to do, but they don't want to do that. And so I don't, and so I just really feel there was this divide created when this money was given from HOD to the
Mm-hmm.
MCA, because caregivers are like, wait a minute, we had your backs, but now you just took money from somebody on the boycott list, and
So
that's not what we're
this
about.
whole like seal
How
of
do you have a
approval
revolution
thing,
if you can sell out for 50 grand? Like,
right?
that's not how it works.
It I just want to make a point. Okay, so if they hired a Trump lobbyist, okay, Trump got mad because he got kicked off Twitter, so he made his own little social media. See how this works? They got mad because they're on the boycott list, and so they just decided that they'll just make their own. That's not how that's gonna work. You know, huh? It's how do you see that actually working? It doesn't, man. How did you see this going good? Maybe there's a few people that go, yeah, cool, man, but those are very, brainwashed and and uninformed people that, let's face it, they really don't give a shit. They just want to, know the person involved, and go on about their fucking pathetic lives. But, listen, there's a lot going on, Michigan. There's a lot of people fighting. You're looking at two of them. Her more so than me. But listen, caregivers, patience, we got your back. We got your six. We're gonna fight this. That's all we can do. We're gonna fight this. We're gonna fight this until we're being pummeled, and we're never gonna stop fighting this. That's the thing. That's what activism is. You never stop fighting. The fact is, we shouldn't have to fight, but we are. Listen, if you don't stand for something, you're gonna fall for anything. That couldn't ring more true. Couldn't ring more true. Jen, I really want to thank you for being on the show today. I think we've definitely shed some light on what's going on in Michigan. Kind of cannabis politically. I do want to reach out and say thank you for helping me kind of better understand these things and kind of get back in I wouldn't really say the arena, but the arena. I really dig what you're doing, and you guys should absolutely go, at her, Jen Bronson, on Facebook. Follow everything she's doing. I don't know if you have a TikTok. Do you have a TikTok?
Yeah, it's just Jen 810.
Get it. Just Jen 810. TikTok's all new to me, so you'll have to bear with me. But Jen, again, thank you for coming on the show today. It was a pleasure, and
Thank you for having me and being such a good friend and artist. And
absolutely.
what do you do for Thanksgiving? Are you gonna make it like an inspired menu turkey and stuffing for your activist friends? I'm
I
just kidding.
mean,
What do you do for Thanksgiving?
there's something in the books right now. We were gonna do a Thanksgiving, but we're not 100% sure about that. But I can tell you this: December 18th, there is something special coming up. I will say that.
All right. Well, keep me in mind for the list.
We'll do. We'll do. All right, you
Well,
guys,
thanks for having
gals.
me, and thank you for everything
Absolutely,
you do.
absolutely. Thank you.
I
Seriously,
appreciate
seriously.
you.
Absolutely. I
And
think
shout
that's where
out to
we're
Buddy Dalton, Cloud Cultivation. Get
and
all your grow
everybody else that we
supplies there.
mentioned. Everybody else that we mentioned. Listen, I look at it this
He's
way.
my like crime and partner in crime lately for the
Oh yeah.
ordinances. So I just like to give a special shout out to him. And plus, he has like the best grow shop in Michigan. So,
Get it,
you know,
get it. All right, my tokers, my jokers, my smokers. Take it easy, take it breezy. Either way, just remain sleazy, y'all. This is another edition of the Daily Chronicles. I'm the host with the most, Chef Rodney Lionheart. We'll see you guys on the flip. Peace.